Check, check. Nothing. Alrighty. So we're going to head to Sweden for this one. Have a little fun. Looks like we got a story coming. I got this from Vox Day's blog. So voxday.blogspot.com. If you want to go check that out, I'll link to it. So Sweden has accepted a lot of migrants, and they have kind of set up camp there, and they don't mingle well. They got all this diversity, but they don't have a lot of integration. And the migrants, some of them follow the Swedish rules, some of them don't. They're not all bad. We're not going to start this off by saying that. But there are some that are. And they've created these no-go zones. Like Malmo is a very well-known, established no-go zone, where the cops, basically, the Swedish police, have no influence on crimes or anything. They've got their own set of laws, they've got their imams, they've got all this stuff. No-go zones in Sweden. So they some of these people have decided that well, let's back up. The government is afraid to go to these places, and what that does is it emboldens these migrant communities to either create their own laws or have no laws at all. And because they've been emboldened, they feel like they can get away with more and more every day. And what happened is there was a story about a taxi driver, and I think he was 37, something like that, older guy. Finds a 16-year-old Swedish girl, and he does the worst possible type of abuse to this young girl. Now, obviously horrible, but the Swedish government is not protecting the Swedish people. Now, I don't know if this little girl went to the authorities and, hey, this guy did this to me and I want him arrested, and I don't know if she did it or not, and I don't think that really matters, because I don't think the Swedish police are going to hunt down this migrant adult taxi driver and give him the type of justice that a Swedish person who did the same crime would receive. So because of these no-go zones, because these migrant cities, and because they are protecting each other, and because the cops are afraid to stir up a ruckus in these no-go cities, a different kind of justice had to be distributed. And what we've got, let me go to this. This is coming from like I said, I got this from Vox Day's blog. Friatider Enriquez, I don't know how to speak Swedish. Turns out that they took care of business their own way. 14-year-old girl hanged her abuser in the forest. When the government won't protect her, she found her own way to seek her own justice. Now, this 26-year-old taxi driver from the Middle East was reported for doing this to the 14-year-old girl, and then mysteriously he was found hanged in a nature reserve. Now, the girl and her boyfriend, she's a 14-year-old with a boyfriend. I don't even want to get started on that. But the girl told her boyfriend, and the boyfriend is like, oh, I'm very sorry about that. Let's go fix this. So the boyfriend has 3 brothers. They found this man, if you want to call him a man, and they're like, scenario probably went down like, excuse me, sir, can you give us a ride in your taxi? Oh, sure, jump in. We're going to go to this nature preserve. He didn't come back. And apparently, according to the article, the prosecutor, which according to the prosecutor, had the character of an execution. So I think these 4 boys and this little girl probably did unspeakable violence to this guy. Now, it should have been handled in the courts, and he should have had his due process, and he should have been arrested, and he should have been proved guilty, and he should have gone to jail. But that doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen because the Swedish government values one type of person more than another. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to say it. But they did not protect this young girl. So she kind of fixed the problem herself. Well, I'll tell you what, this guy isn't going to be doing any more of that non-consensual touching anymore, is he? I think they did. I bet this punishment lasted hours, and I bet it was gruesome. And I hope that she was the one to look him directly in his eyes during his last moments. So not only did he die in a gruesome, painful, horrible way, but he died alone, staring into her eyes. Does that make me a bad person? I don't think so. I think he got what he deserved. But the way the story turned out, these types of things are going to become more and more common. If the government doesn't take care of its citizens and it lets these new migrants just run rampant and commit whatever crimes they want, you're going to get this kind of vigilante justice. You're going to get, well, you're going to get more of this. And you can look to the examples in New York City to see how this is going. That guy, Daniel Penny, who was on the subway, and the raving lunatic psychopath who started becoming violent in the train and threatening people. So Daniel Penny stepped up, puts him in a chokehold. Unfortunately, he passed. But this guy kind of caused his own problem, because if he hadn't had been the aggressor, no one would have stepped in to subdue him, and there would never have been a problem at all. And you're going to start seeing this. You're seeing this all over the southern border towns, where you get people that come in and they do the same type of crimes, and the government either is understaffed or unwilling to prosecute because they can't or they won't, and you're going to see a lot more of this. And we have these anti-lynching laws, but I'm beginning to think that they're going to start looking the other way. Because when the cops, I think most cops are good, and most cops want to prosecute these guys that commit these kind of crimes and then get, no consequences. But when citizens rise up and they start saying, well, if the cops aren't allowed to help us, we're going to have to do it ourselves. And you're going to see a lot more of this. It's coming to this country. There's some now, but I think it's going to be a lot more in the future. And this little tiny 14-year-old Swedish girl just dug deep in her heritage, found her Viking spirit. She just took care of business. So we're going to start seeing the same pioneering spirit that built this country, the Daniel Boones and the Davy Crockett's and the people from history that, foraged the wilderness and they built things with their hands. And when people come in and start stealing stuff and taking all their resources, and this is going to end one way. There will be a time when people are going to start standing up for themselves. And if the police and the law can look the other way when the criminals are just running rampant and stripping the shelves in the Walgreens in California and the crime, and if the cops can look the other way for that, at some point they're going to have to start looking the other way when people fight back. And that's going to be fun to watch. And I think it's probably going to happen pretty soon, because it's just getting out of control. And there's no, the legal methods to fix this are gone. They're not coming back, and people are going to have to start taking care of themselves. So dig deep, channel the spirit of this 14-year-old girl, and I think this is how it's going to play out. What do you think? Any comments? Any thoughts? Anybody watching? I know this is a last minute kind of thing, and it's a funny little story, and it's definitely not going to be reported in mainstream media. So I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to show as many people as possible about the story and this brave little girl. her Viking heritage just came right out and she took care of business. It's unfortunate she had to go through this process to get to that point, but yeah, he's not going to do it to any other Swedish girls, is he? All right. Quick little story for tonight. I just wanted to wrap it up, and anybody who's watching, I truly appreciate it. So I'll check with you later, and I'll try to find some more fun stories that are being underreported.